Hamlet is one of the many famous plays written by William Shakespeare. Many films have been produced from the original script that demonstrate different interpretations of the play.
Today, we are going to analyze Act 3, Scene 4, in both a version directed by Franco Zeffirelli in 1990 and another film directed by Gregory Durant in 2009.
In Franco Zeffirelli's version, Hamlet is played by Mel Gibson, and in Gregory Durant's version, Hamlet is played by David Tennant. Although both versions deliver mostly the same lines, the directors in each film approach the script differently.
Because Doran's version was produced almost 20 years after Zeffirelli's, there is a modern theme in Doran's 2009 film, seen through the clothes and the quality of the image. But it is also interesting to see how each film portrays the characters in different ways and how we compare these two films as a whole.
Leading up to Act 3, Scene 5, Hamlet has just put on a play in the castle where players have acted out a king's death by his brother, and the king's wife remarries the killer before Claudius shuts it down. Hamlet is then summoned into Gertrude's chambers for her to talk to him. To start off, Gertrude, played by Glenn Close, is getting ready for bed, braiding her hair and fixing her dress, all which suggests that Gertrude is into her looks and appearance. This idea suggests that she has married Claudius to stay in position of power and wealth. Talking to Polonius in a rude tone before Hamlet enters the scene also demonstrates her bossy and short-tempered personality.
Fear me not!
Penny Downey plays Gertrude in Doran's version, and at the beginning of the scene, she is shown with a glass of alcohol in one hand and a cigarette in the other. This suggests that she is stressed out or anxious. She's clearly bothered by Hamlet's odd actions thus far, and is stressed about talking to him about it and addressing the issue. This differs from the domineering personality of Gertrude in the Zeffirelli version.
As Hamlet enters, he paces while in deep thought as he swings a dangerous sword, foreshadowing an act of violence. Gertrude says the lines, "You hath your father much offended," sternly but shaken, as if she is trying to keep herself together. He responds in a cruel and direct tone, suggesting that he is more angry at his mother rather than going mad.
When Hamlet, played by David Tennant, enters the scene, he is singing loudly, wearing a lopsided crown, and has his bow tie untied around his neck. His appearance, crazy behaviors, and wild actions correlates with everyone's belief that he has gone mad.
Now, mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
Tennant does a good job with acting crazy and emotional about his father's death. He talks as if he's being sarcastic and mocks Gertrude, as well as other characters in the play, as he demonstrates a strange behavior unlike the mysterious Hamlet in the Zeffirelli version.
To further demonstrate Hamlet's anger in the Zeffirelli version, Gertrude then slaps him after his rude accusations, in which he lets out a roar. The camera faces his back, in which he turns with a vicious glare, further foreshadowing a violent outburst.
On the other hand, David Tennant plays Hamlet and uses physical aggression to grasp Gertrude, less of a violent threat and more of a method to force her to listen. Here we see Hamlet mock Gertrude's position as queen, and when she rips her hands away, he flings her on the bed.
As you can see, Hamlet points his sword at Gertrude, emphasizing the idea that he is threatening her in order to make her stay and listen. Hamlet shows his dominance over Gertrude, which is a power shift from the rest of the play, in which Gertrude is rightfully afraid and yells for help. Her fear is emphasized by the close-up angle of the camera. The fact that Hamlet runs on instinct towards the tapestry and stabs the person behind it further shows his violence and sporadic actions.
In the Doran version at this time, Hamlet is mounted on top of Gertrude, again showing his attempt to keep her in a position to listen as he talks about how he will reveal to her what she's done. This is enough to scare Gertrude, and when she calls for help, Hamlet then pulls out a handgun from beside the table and shoots the glass door that Polonius is behind. The fact that he uses a gun as opposed to a sword further demonstrates the modern take on this ancient play. Gertrude creeps over to see Polonius dead, which shows her interest as well as her fear demonstrated by her slow walk and tight grasp to furniture. She responds to Hamlet's accusation by repeating as "kill a king" in the form of a question, as if she doesn't understand what he is saying. When she understands, she stands up slowly as the camera follows her movements, and she looks into Hamlet nervously, further showing her tentative behavior around her aggressive son.
Duran demonstrates Gertrude's reaction to this accusation completely differently, as the camera zooms in on her shocked expression and she delivers the line, "As kill a king," in a horrified manner.
My lady, 'twas my word.
During the entire argument between Gertrude and Hamlet, in the Zaffarelli version, Gertrude is played as if in fear of her son, as she delivers her lines with a tentative voice and Hamlet backs her up towards the bed. This differs to how Duran presents her, in which she is more of an argument with Hamlet, as Gertrude and Hamlet are both on the same level during the scene and Gertrude yells back.
Zeffirelli has decided to transition the argument with Gertrude to the side of King Hamlet's ghost with a kiss. The camera angle changes from Gertrude leaning in to kiss Hamlet as if to shut him up, to just focusing on Hamlet as he opens his eyes and spots the ghost in the entryway of her chambers. Hamlet's response of stumbling out of bed and gesturing the Holy Trinity demonstrates his fear of the ghost as he clings to the bed. The camera angles show the ghost in the doorframe in some shots but not others, as it switches back and forth between Hamlet and Gertrude, which demonstrates that Gertrude cannot see the ghost but Hamlet can, and is speaking to it. This causes Gertrude to say, "He has gone mad," a term we haven't seen Hamlet associated with yet in this version.
Duran demonstrates a transition from Gertrude and Hamlet's talk to the part with the ghost with the sound of a clock ringing in the back. As soon as the clock rings, Hamlet leaps out of bed and crumples to the ground, and Gertrude, unable to see the ghost, seems astounded by his increasingly odd behavior, in which she calls him mad.
Let's go by the important acting of your dread command. Oh, say.
The camera angle is farther back until the scene with the ghost. During the ghost interaction, the director strategically uses the camera angle to show that Hamlet sees the ghost and Gertrude does not. He does this by switching back and forth from two camera angles showing the background of the ghost from Hamlet's view, but from Gertrude shows only the mad Hamlet, allowing viewers to further question whether the ghost is truly there or only in Hamlet's mad mind.
My stern effect. Then what?
It is also interesting to note that both Zeffirelli and Dorn have included a kiss between Gertrude and Hamlet in Act 3, Scene 4. This is not because Shakespeare has included it in the text, it is just decisions made by directors that demonstrate the emotions associated with a heartfelt conversation between mother and son. While Glenn Close, acting as Gertrude, kisses Hamlet in the Zeffirelli version, it is almost to get him to stop talking and accusing her. Opposing this, David Tennant as Hamlet walks over and kisses Gertrude in the Dorn version before leaving her chambers at the end of the scene, as if to demonstrate Hamlet's forgiveness of Gertrude and them being in a peaceful place.
In Zaffarelli's version, fear is shown by having actors cling to furniture and walk slowly, as Gertrude is presented as fearful of Hamlet and the dangerous side of himself. Hamlet acts out of anger from his built-up emotions against Gertrude and Claudius, which causes him to act out using violence. The camera angles far away help to show Hamlet's dominance over Gertrude, and the up-close face shots demonstrate the emotions during the conversation.
On the other hand, Dorn's version of Hamlet uses a modern theme with zooming camera angles and up-close shots to show fear and facial expressions. Actor David Tennant acts out of insanity and his emotions, while his mother, instead of being afraid, argues back. He uses aggression, not in a violent way, but more of an unusual way to get Gertrude in a position to listen to him. Camera angles during the ghost scene go back and forth showing the ghost in some, while in other shots seemingly from Gertrude's point of view there is none.
The incorporeal air do hold discourse. Forth at your eyes your spirits wildly peep, O gentle sun, upon the heat and flame of thy distemper sprinkle cool patience. Where
Oh, save me and hover only with your wings, you heavenly gods. What would your gracious figure?
Alas, he's mad.
As you can see, different versions of Hamlet present characters in various ways and have the ability to portray a completely different message just throughout one scene. While the Zeffirelli version presents us with a violent Hamlet unable to control his emotions and a fearful Gertrude attempting not to show her fear, the Dorn version focuses on Hamlet's madness rather than the ability to do harm, which allows Gertrude to argue back but also fear the madness inside him. Zeffirelli ends the scene with an up-close shot of Gertrude terrified as Hamlet drags Polonius's body out of her chambers, and Doran decides to end the scene with Hamlet and Gertrude resolving their issues as they embrace and kiss before Hamlet departs.
This is why it is so interesting to look at different versions of one play, because depending on the choices of the directors, a completely different message could be told.